Imagine waking up one morning, checking your phone, and seeing a single headline that quietly changes everything you thought you knew about money, markets, and the future of one of the most important metals on the planet. No explosion, no crash, no dramatic market meltdown on the news. Just a number, 140 million ounces, a gap, a hole in the silver supply that has never been this large in modern history. And here's what makes it truly terrifying. Almost nobody is talking about it. Not your coworkers, not your financial advisor, not even most of the mainstream financial media, but the people who are paying attention. The big institutional players, the mining insiders, the commodity analysts who study these numbers every single day, they are not calm right now. They are watching this gap with the kind of intensity that only comes right before something massive is about to happen. So the question you need to ask yourself right now before you do anything else today is this: do you want to be the person who finds out about this after it's too late? Or do you want to understand what's actually happening, why it matters to you personally, and what the smartest people in the room are quietly doing about it right now? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will see silver in a way you never have before. And I promise you, this is not the kind of story you're going to forget. Let's start with the basics, because you deserve to understand the full picture. Silver is not just a shiny metal that goes into jewelry or old coins. Silver is one of the most industrially critical materials on Earth right now. It is inside your smartphone. It is inside solar panels. It is inside electric vehicles. It is inside medical equipment, military technology, water purification systems, and advanced semiconductors. The modern world, the world we are all racing toward with green energy and artificial intelligence and electric everything, that world runs on silver. And here is where the story starts to get very interesting, because the demand for silver has been climbing for years. Not slowly, not quietly, but aggressively, urgently, and in ways that the supply side of this market simply cannot keep up with. Before we go any further, if you are finding this valuable, and I think you will find it even more valuable in the next few minutes, do me a favor and hit that like button right now. It takes literally 1 second, and it helps this channel reach more people who need to hear this information. And if you want to stay ahead of conversations like this one, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss what we cover here on John AG 1.0. All right, let's keep going. So here we are in 2025, and the numbers that commodity researchers and silver market analysts have been publishing are genuinely startling. The silver market is running what is called a structural deficit. That means that every single year, the world is consuming more silver than it is producing. And this has been happening for multiple years in a row now. But the number that has really grabbed attention recently is that gap we talked about at the top: 140 million ounces. That is the estimated shortfall between how much silver the world needs and how much silver the mining industry and recycling operations can actually deliver. To put that into perspective for you, the entire global silver mining output in a typical year is somewhere around 800 to 900 million ounces. So we are talking about a gap that represents roughly 15 to 17% of total annual production. That is not a rounding error. That is not a blip on a chart. That is a structural problem building underneath the surface of the global economy. Now here is where the story gets more layered, and I want you to really pay attention here, because this is the part that separates the people who understand what is happening from the people who don't. Silver has two lives. It has its life as an industrial metal, and it has its life as a financial asset, a store of value, a hedge against inflation, the thing people run to when they stop trusting paper currency. And right now, both of those lives are demanding silver at the same time. The solar energy industry alone is consuming silver at a pace that has shocked even optimistic analysts. Modern solar panels require silver paste in their cells for electrical conductivity. And with governments around the world pouring trillions of dollars into green energy infrastructure, the solar industry's appetite for silver is not slowing down. It is accelerating. Studies from major commodity research firms have shown that by the late 2020s, solar alone could consume more than double the silver it uses today. And that's just one industry. That doesn't count the electric vehicle revolution, the AI data center build-out that requires advanced electronics, or the medical and defense sectors that have their own growing silver requirements. And here is the painful irony of all of this. Silver mining cannot simply be switched on like a faucet. Opening a new silver mine from initial discovery to actual production takes anywhere from 7 to 15 years. The permitting process is grueling. The capital investment is enormous. The environmental hurdles are real. And even when miners want to increase production, the high-grade deposits that used to be easy to exploit are increasingly getting harder and more expensive to mine. Meanwhile, recycling, which accounts for a meaningful portion of silver supply, has its own ceiling because you can only recycle silver that already exists in circulation. And much of the silver used in industrial applications is consumed in quantities so small per unit that recovering it is not economically practical. So you have an industry that literally cannot respond fast enough to what the world is asking it to provide. Now let's talk about price, because this is what most people want to know. If supply is shrinking and demand is exploding, why hasn't silver already gone to the moon? This is actually a brilliant question, and the answer reveals something deeply important about how markets work. Silver has historically been suppressed by paper market dynamics. On exchanges like the COMEX in New York, the daily trading volume of silver in paper contracts dwarfs the actual physical silver that exists in vaults. In other words, the price of silver has been heavily influenced by financial players trading promises of silver, not silver itself. But here's what the smart money is quietly watching. The physical silver market is tightening. Industrial buyers who need actual deliverable metal are paying premiums over spot prices. The ratio of paper silver to physical silver is at levels that have historically preceded significant repricing events. And when physical markets diverge from paper markets and commodities historically, one thing happens. Reality catches up. And when reality catches up in silver, price moves can be dramatic, sudden, and deeply surprising to anyone who wasn't watching. Think about what happened in 2011 when silver ran from around $18 per ounce all the way to nearly $50 in just a few months. Or think about the GameStop moment of the commodity world in early 2021 when retail investors briefly put enormous pressure on the silver market. Those events didn't change the fundamentals, but they showed just how explosive silver's price action can be when momentum shifts. Now imagine those kinds of moves happening not from a social media campaign, but from a genuine, structural, unavoidable supply crisis that has been building for years. That is what the 140 million ounce gap represents as a potential trigger. And here's the human side of this story, because I don't want this to just be about charts and ounces. There are real consequences for real people in this unfolding situation. If silver prices rise significantly, and many respected analysts believe a move to $70, $80, or even $100 per ounce is not a fantasy given the deficit dynamics, the cost of solar panels goes up. The cost of electronics goes up. The cost of medical devices goes up. But at the same time, people who have positioned themselves thoughtfully ahead of this move, whether through physical silver, silver mining stocks, or silver-backed investments, could see their purchasing power protected or even significantly enhanced during a period when everything else feels economically uncertain. This is why wealthy investors and institutional funds have been quietly accumulating physical silver in a way that hasn't received much mainstream attention. They understand something that the average person on the street hasn't fully processed yet, that we are living through a historic inflection point in the silver market. Now, I want to be honest with you because that is what this channel is built on. Silver is not a guaranteed lottery ticket. Markets are complex, timing is uncertain, the paper suppression of silver's price could continue for longer than anyone predicts. Governments could change policies, new mining technologies could shift supply curves. These are real risks that any thoughtful person needs to weigh. But what is not uncertain is the underlying demand story. The green energy transition is real. The electrification of transportation is real. The AI and semiconductor build-out is real, and all of those industries need silver in quantities that the world does not currently have the mining infrastructure to fully supply. That is not an opinion. That is arithmetic. So, what do you do with all of this? I am not a financial advisor, and I am not here to tell you what to buy or sell, but I will tell you this. The most important thing you can do right now is be informed. Understand what the silver market is actually doing beneath the headlines. Understand that there is a 140 million ounce gap sitting in the middle of one of the most critical commodities markets in the world. And that gap does not resolve itself overnight. Ask yourself whether your current financial position reflects the world as it was 10 years ago, or the world as it is rapidly becoming. Talk to people you trust. Do your own research. But do not let this moment pass you by without at least understanding what is happening. Because here is what history has shown us over and over again. When real supply crunches hit commodities that the world genuinely needs, the people who were paying attention early are the ones who look back and say they saw it coming. The people who weren't paying attention are the ones who say they wish someone had told them. I am telling you now. I want to hear from you in the comments right now. Do you already hold silver? Are you just starting to look into this? Or are you skeptical? Do you think this gap will resolve without a major price move? Leave your honest thoughts below, because this community has some genuinely sharp people in it, and I read every single comment. And if this video opened your eyes even a little bit, please share it with someone in your life who needs to hear this. A friend, a family member, anyone who talks to you about money or the economy. You sharing this video is how we get this information to the people who need it most. That genuinely matters. The 140 million ounce gap did not appear overnight. It was built slowly, quietly, through years of underinvestment in mining, years of explosive industrial demand, and years of a global economy sprinting toward an electrified future without fully accounting for what that future requires. The gap is here now. The question is simply whether you are going to be someone who was aware of it before the rest of the world caught up, or after. And on this channel, we always aim to be ahead of the curve. That is what John AG 1.0 is built for. Stay curious, stay informed, and I will see you in the next one.